Good. Okay, I'm ready for lunch.
We are all ready for lunch.
Well, by the way, what has government done to our money? This is what the communists, the Marxists have the Communist Manifesto. We have this. This is what converted me. I'm glad you have this out.
Before I forget, this is for you.
Oh, good. Thank you. Put it on.
Hey. Hello. Man.
I hear somebody.
Thank you.
What about this?
We can take that
The
off.
light's on.
Yeah, it's not the microphone, it's the computer is not picking it up.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, right there. How about that?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, they can hear it, yeah.
Okay, but what about changing the? This isn't working. Can you change it?
Just a sec. Okay.
So it is working? Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to emphasize this again. All prices are determined by the marginal number of buyers and sellers. So in the stock market, it's not every shareholder that determines the price. It's just who buys and sells on the day the stock is trading. Buyers and sellers. If there's more buyers than sellers, the stock goes up. If there's more sellers than buyers, the stock goes down. So it's marginal buyers, sellers. Same thing with real estate. You think your real estate's worth $2 million. What's that based on? Recent sales, appraised value based on recent sales. Marginal number of buyers and sellers. It's not determined by the total number of real estate owners. They don't determine the price. You have appraised value. It's based on marginal number of buyers and sellers. How many homes have sold in the last year in your area? 6, 7, 8, 10. How many homes are there? 100, 1,000. They say every 20th home is for sale in a normal situation. They are the ones determining the price, not everyone else. So it's quite a revolution. Now, there are students. William Margaret was a Menger student who was famous for, he's the first economist to criticize criticize Marx, and very important criticism. He was also a big pro-savings guy. Talked about countries that have high savings, no savings, and negative savings, and what effect that is. Very critical of capitalism. William von Mark was the most famous economist of the turn of the century. In 1890, he wrote a book on capital, the positive theory of capital. He was the most famous economist in the 1890s. Today, very little known about him, but very important person. Okay, maybe next slide. There we go. And the Economic Freedom Index. You'll pass on that and go on to Beezer. Frederick Beezer, the great man theory. So his view is that you need a great leader to move economics along, to move politics along, religion. You need great leaders. It's called the great man theory. The only problem is that he was writing this in the 1920s when Hitler, rise in Hitler. So a lot of them considered him favorable toward the Nazis and stuff. So that was a danger time for, but It is true that great individuals in business, we highlight them. The Forbes 400 richest list, if you look at NVIDIA, if you look at Microsoft, who's the richest man in the world? Elon Musk, great man theory. You got to go with these great men. They have tremendous influence. That's the idea.
Just a second, I need to fix something.
Why we all are ambitious, right?
Okay.
Okay. Ludwig von Mises. Okay, so that's third generation. You had Wieser and von Bogert, but Mises was the third generation, born in 1881. Why is that important? 1881. That was
Manifesto.
1883. I think I've told that story. Yeah. 1881 because it's a palindrome. It's a unique palindrome, right? Read it backwards, forwards, upside down. It's all 1881. You can never forget the year Mises was born.
I think human action is 881 pages.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken, 81.
That'd be
Human
cool.
action is 81. It's 881 pages like that.
So he's famous for the theory of money and credit, which introduced the Austrian theory of the business cycle. The human socialism, he was the first one to critique socialism as a theory. Eugen von Barbary critiqued Karl Marx, but socialism expanded after 1917, the Soviet Revolution, the Russian Revolution. So everyone thought socialism could work, and Mises was the first one who took issue with the idea that socialism could work. He proved that socialism cannot work, and it never has. Lacks incentives. So methodological dualism between social and physical sciences, centralized command economies don't work. And money inflation is never neutral. It's always disruptive. Inflation doesn't just raise prices, but disrupts the economic system. Very important concepts, contributions. Okay. Next slide. And Hayek, who was not Mises' student, but a colleague, younger colleague who worked for Mises, the Austrian Chamber of Commerce. His contributions, the use of knowledge in society is considered one of the top three papers that has ever been written in economics, making the case for decentralized decision-making. Hayek's triangles, which is a graphic way of measuring the stages of production, and the basis of which is my gross output statistic, which is a measure of Hayek's triangles. So I played my own role in advancing Austrian macroeconomics. And then also his Austrian theory of the business cycle, how monetary policy creates a boom bust cycle, and he called inflation a tiger by the tail. Also very big critic of socialism. The Fatal Conceit was his last book. Very influential, very good thing. So here's prices and production, the measuring the stages of production. And this is just an example of the stages of production for bread and value added. This is the basis of national income accounting. Okay, because the bottom line is the GDP. So this is my micro model of the economy with Starbucks coffee. It's a fun exercise I do with my students. And this one's the stages of production, 4 stages of production in my own textbook. Here's GDP. And then gross output measures all 1, 2, 3, and 4, measures spending at all stages of production. Hayek's triangle. The final person is Joseph Schumpeter in the third generation of Austrian economics. He's famous for the term creative destruction. However, he took that from Marx Marx commented, his comment on capitalism is creative destruction. I prefer Clay Christensen from Harvard University, the late Clay Christensen, who called it creative disruption. I think that's a better term than destruction, which is too negative. Disruption, I like, creative disruption. He also defended monopolistic competition. He was a critic of perfect competition model. He said businesses do influence prices and profits. Monopolies can exist for periods of time, but until they're broken up by competition. IBM used to dominate the computer industry. Now they're one of many. And so there's a lot of competition. Same thing with Apple Computer. Apple Computer used to dominate the iPhone business. Now it's 30%. It's only 30% of worldwide sales. It used to be 90%. Because you have Samsung and lots of other competitors. Monopoly never does last very long. You have a leapfrogging effect where companies come and dominate and overcome the number one competitor. AOL used to be the number one internet email, right? AOL. Now it's a tenth of what it used to be. It's dominated now by Gmail, Google, but even Google now has so much competition that they're declining in influence. So the implication is you don't need any antitrust. The market itself will break monopolies all the time. The only way they continue to be excessive is if government mandates. This is the only company you can do business with, the U.S. Post Office. But even then, the U.S. Post Office now has numerous competition and is losing money and eventually will be privatized. That's my prediction. Finally, he was a pessimist. Schumpeter, like Mises and like Hayek, the early Austrians were all pessimists. Why? Why were they pessimistic about the future? Anyone want to guess? First of all, what did they predict? Booms or busts?
Both.
No, Great Depression. They did not predict the 1920s era. They don't even predict it today. They predict the crashes, the Great Depression. That's what they're famous for. Okay. Even predicting war, they're really good at predicting war, but not peace, right? So Schumpeter said, will capitalism survive? No, I don't think it will. Can socialism work? Of course it can. Schumpeter saying that. And of course, he was wrong on both counts. Capitalism has prospered. It's gone through numerous crises, as Schumpeter predicted, numerous crises. But, and does socialism work? No, it can't work because it doesn't have the incentives. It fails. So he was the enfant terrible of the Austrian school in that sense. But he was in the grand tradition. Hayek, the same thing. In the second edition of Hayek's book, The Road to Prosperity, The Road to Freedom,
The road to serfdom.
The Road to Serfdom. Depressing, negative title? You bet. Very negative. Bestseller, of course, because if it bleeds, it leads, is the old phrase in the media. If you go into journalism, remember that. If it bleeds, it leads. Prosperity, common, ordinary activities, that doesn't make headlines. Earthquakes make headlines. Crises, financial crises. War makes headlines, not peace. Well, peace does after war. There is this tendency among Austrians to be pessimists because they're always thinking that the boom is artificial. The Austrian theory of the business cycle is that you have artificially low interest rates, it creates a boom, and the boom eventually has to collapse. And of course, indeed it does. But why can't you play the boom phase of it, artificial as it is? Just use stop orders to get you out when it turns negative. Easier said than done. But Mises and Hayek predicted the 1929 crash. They were one of the few who did it, put them on the map. They became famous, Mises and Hayek, because they predicted the 1929-1932 Great Depression. However, they did not predict the recovery. They did not predict the prosperity of the post-war period. I have Austrians to this day who denied that Reaganomics was going to work. Murray Rothbard didn't think much of Reaganomics. He said, "Oh, it's not going to work," but it did work. You just need a marginal change in inflation, a marginal change in the interest rates, a marginal change in GDP, and the stock market can explode upwards. Right? So I used to have arguments with Murray in the 80s. I said, Reaganomics, no, definitely won't work. Well, it did work. So that's why my newsletter is still around, because I was right on that prediction. I had a promotion called The Financial Shock of 81. You open it up and it says Reaganomics would work. Sell your gold and silver, buy stocks and bonds, because we're in the boom phase of the Austrian theory of the business cycle. The boom phase. And it lasted 40 years. So
What about the crash? 87?
yeah, I accidentally predicted the crash, but I didn't think it was going to be a crash. I just thought it was a bear market. But I'm better at predicting booms rather than busts.
Yeah, it's hard to.
Yeah. But others are better at predicting busts, you know, and the Austrian economists were very good at that. But I tend to be more of a perma bull. We have free market economics, and I think that it's going to work as long as we have a free market economy. Despite every effort by Republicans and Democrats, the stock market is an all-time high. How many people missed out on that? I didn't miss out on that, but I have a lot of my Austrian friends who are in cash and gold has done really well. So, and Bitcoin's done really well. So you'll notice in my newsletter, I got all those things. I got gold, I got stocks, I got technology, I got Bitcoin. I've got everything in there, and they're all going up. But never let a bull market, never think that you are really smart during a bull market, because everything's going up. It's easy to make money in a bull market. Try to make money in a bear market. That's much more different. So the model of creative destruction or disruption is a really good model of the capitalist system. No question about that. Contribution to the Austrians. Menger, subjective. So it's just kind of a summary of the contributions. Okay. So I just wanted to mention, I'm going to turn the time over now to our master of ceremonies and expert on Austrian economics and all things academic and empirical. And I just wanted to mention our next year's FreedomFest, because the Menger Institute has been a very big supporter of our annual conference of freedom lovers. It's so important that we come together once a year to learn from each other, to network, to socialize, and to celebrate liberty and have a positive attitude about where our country is and where the world is headed. We work hard year round to put together this conference. We have over 150 exhibitors of freedom organizations. So you were there. You had a really good spot. People love coming by and seeing you guys, the Menger Institute. We sell a lot of these silver dollars, because this is the symbol of hard money, sound money, and liberty. Is the eagle coin, American eagle coin. And then we have a picture taken at the end with our speakers and our exhibitors. Everybody comes up who has the silver dollar, and we have our picture taken at the end of the conference. So our theme this next year, the 250th anniversary of our country, is Think Independent. It's in Las Vegas, the Caesars Forum Convention Center, and it's a beautiful facility, new, very new. July 8th and 11th, right after 4th of July, 2026. And so freedomfest.com is the source for information on it. We'll be adding our speakers and everything. we're hoping, Darren, you can have your own session this next time. We think that would be really good.
The workshop.
Yeah,
But it's not a free conference, even though it's called FreedomFest. People do need to pay, but we do offer student discounts. And we have a lot of people who want a lot of students there, so we subsidize the students, but you still have to pay something. We want skin in the game. So Darren, I have to head back because we have dinner. I have a dinner appointment, so I thank you all for coming. And if you want any information about my books and newsletters and stuff like that, skousenbooks.com is the place to go where I sell the books for discounts and stuff. And some of you are new here, so you didn't get this card, right? This is the Freedom Fest card. Anyone else? Here we go. Just something to carry with you to remind you to sign up. Oh, you got one. Okay, right. Darren, you got one? Yeah, there you go. You got one. You do. There you go. And thank you all very much and look forward to another chance to speak to your group. I've always enjoyed it. Thank you.